I thought the road would fix me, that if I kept riding, the noise in my head would fade. But that afternoon, the highway felt endless. My motorcycle hummed under me, steady and loyal. My life was not. I had just left a job that fell apart fast. I had just walked away from a relationship that made me feel small. I did not want pity. I only wanted distance. By late day, my fuel light came on. I looked down and whispered, "Not now." The next sign said gas and pointed toward a small station off the road. I turned in and rolled up to a pump. It was quiet. A few cars. A tired wind. An open sky with pale clouds. I took off my gloves. I slid my card into the machine. The screen paused. Then it flashed a message I did not want to see. Declined. I tried again, slower this time. Declined. My throat tightened. I checked my wallet like it might change. I checked my phone. The balance was there, but something was holding it. I did not understand the numbers. I only knew the pump would not start. I stepped back and stared at my bike. My bags were strapped down with everything I owned. A jacket, a few tools, a small notebook, and a plan that no longer felt real. I told myself to breathe. I could call someone, but I did not have anyone I wanted to call. I could ask the cashier, but my pride held me still. That was when I heard a small voice behind me. "Mister, are you okay?" I turned slowly. A little girl stood near the sidewalk. She held a drink with both hands. Her mother stood beside her with a polite smile. The girl looked at the pump, then at me, then at my face like she was trying to read the truth. I forced a calm tone. "Yeah, I am okay." The mother gave a gentle nod. "Sorry. She worries about everyone." The girl did not move. My dad says when adults say they are okay, sometimes they are not. I did not know what to say. I looked at her and tried to smile again. "That is a smart dad." She nodded like that settled it. Then she asked, soft and direct, "Did your card not work?" I paused. I wanted to say no, but my silence answered for me. The mother squeezed her hand, a quiet signal to stop. But the girl kept watching me, not judging, just noticing. I swallowed and spoke carefully. "It is just a small problem. I will handle it." Before the moment could end, another voice came from the next pump. Calm, older, kind. Sometimes small problems feel big when you are alone. I turned. A woman with silver hair stood beside a simple SUV. Kayak was strapped on top. She wore a denim jacket and looked like someone who had seen many roads. She was not staring at me. She was looking at me the way people look when they truly see. I stood up straighter, trying to protect my pride. "I am fine," I said. She nodded once. "I believe you." Then she stepped closer, not too close. Just enough to be heard. "I watched you try twice. That machine can be stubborn." I tried to laugh, but it did not come out right. "Yeah, it is being stubborn." The girl glanced between us. The mother looked a little nervous, like she wanted to leave. The silver-haired woman kept her voice gentle. "How far are you going?" I hesitated. I did not know the answer anymore. "Far," I said. She studied my bike, then my face. Not in a rude way, in a careful way, like she was choosing her words. "I do not want to embarrass you," she said, "but I also do not want you stuck here." My shoulders tightened. I opened my mouth to refuse whatever was coming. But the little girl spoke first. "Mom, we could help." Her mother whispered, "Honey, we do not know him." The girl said, steady and innocent, "That is why it counts." The silver-haired woman smiled at that. Then she reached into her pocket, and I felt my heart beat faster, because I knew what she was about to do, and I was not ready to be saved. She held the folded bills between her fingers, not waving them, not pushing them toward me, just holding them like a quiet option. I shook my head right away. "Cannot take that." She did not argue. She did not smile wider. She simply waited. "I am not asking you to owe me anything," she said. I stepped back a half step. "I will figure it out. I always do." The little girl looked up at me. Sometimes figuring it out alone takes longer. Her mother sighed softly. "Sweetheart, let the grown-ups talk." But the silver-haired woman nodded at the girl. "She is right," she said. I felt my face warm. I do not take money from strangers, I said. The woman met my eyes. Then we will not be strangers for this moment. I looked at the ground. My boots were dusty. My hands were shaking just enough to notice. I did not want help. I needed it. She spoke again, slower now. You are not asking for something extra. You are only trying to keep moving. That is not weakness. That is being human. The words settled heavy in my chest. The station felt very quiet. Cars came and went. No one was watching. No one cared. And somehow that made it easier. I let out a breath I had been holding for too long. I do not know when I could give it back, I said. She nodded. You will not give it back. That caught my attention. She continued. One day, when you see someone else standing where you are now, you help them. That is all. The little girl smiled. Like sharing toys, she said. The woman laughed softly. Exactly like that. I looked at the money again. It was not much, but it felt like a bridge. I reached out slowly and took it. Thank you, I said. My voice almost broke. She touched my arm gently, then stepped back. Fill your tank. Go where you need to go. She turned toward her car. I waited. I wanted to ask her name. I wanted to say more. But she was already opening the door. The little girl waved. I waved back. Then they drove away. Just like that. I stood there for a long moment. The bills felt warm in my hand. Not from heat. From meaning. I filled the tank. The pump clicked and stopped. This time because it was full. I sat on my bike and let the engine idle. I watched the road stretch ahead of me. I did not feel fixed, but I felt possible. I rode for hours that night. The sky changed colors. The air cooled. The road carried me forward. Eventually, I reached a town I had never planned to stop in. I found a small place to sleep. The next morning, I found work. It was not exciting. It was honest. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. I saved. I learned. I rebuilt things slowly. And through all of it, I remembered her. I remembered the girl. The calm voice. The simple choice. Every time I stopped for gas, I watched. I noticed people. I noticed hesitation. I noticed silence. And when the moment felt right, I helped. Not to feel proud. Not to feel important. Only to keep the chain moving. Years passed. My life grew steadier. My bike ran smoother. But the question stayed with me. Who was she? I did not know her name. I did not know her town. Only a station near the road. An SUV. Kayak on top. Silver hair. Kind eyes. And a moment that changed everything. So I decided to look for her. Not because I owed her, but because I wanted her to know that what she did mattered. That it still mattered. And that promise became my next journey. The search did not start with confidence. It started with small questions. I rode back to that stretch of road. The station looked the same. Same pumps. Same faded sign. Different faces. I asked the cashier if she remembered a woman with silver hair and a kayak on her car. She thought for a moment, then shook her head. A lot of people pass through here, she said. I understood. I tried the next town. Then the next. I stopped at diners. Outdoor shops. Small markets near the river. I asked gently. I did not rush. I did not push. Sometimes people smiled and said no. Sometimes they shared their own stories. A man told me someone once paid for his groceries. A woman said a stranger helped her change a tire. Every story felt connected. But none led me to her. Months passed. I kept working. I kept writing. And I kept helping when I could. Still, at night, I wondered if I had waited too long. If some moments were not meant to be closed. One evening, after a long ride, I posted a short message online. I kept it simple. 5 years ago, a woman helped me at a gas station. Silver hair. Kayak on her car. She told me to pass it on. I want to thank her. If you know her, please tell her I am looking. I did not expect much. I went to sleep. The next morning, there was a message waiting. It was short, careful, kind. I think you are talking about my mother. My hands felt light. The message explained more. She lived near the river. She liked kayaking. She helped people quietly. Never talked about it. Her son said he was not sure, but something about my words sounded familiar. He shared an address. I stared at it for a long time. I did not ride there right away. I was afraid of being wrong, afraid of interrupting a life that did not include me. I waited 3 days. Then I packed my bike. The ride felt different, slower, intentional. When I reached the dirt road by the river, my heart was loud. The cabin was small, wooden, warm. A kayak leaned against the porch rail. I turned off the engine and sat there, breathing. I walked up the path and knocked. The door opened. She stood there, older, more lines around her eyes, but the same calm presence. "Yes," she said. "Can I help you?" I swallowed. "5 years ago," I said. "You helped me at a gas station." She looked at me closely. Then she smiled. "I wondered what happened to you." My shoulders dropped. We stood there for a moment, neither of us rushing. Then she stepped aside. "Come in," she said. Inside, the cabin smelled like coffee and wood. Photos of rivers and mountains lined the walls. We sat at a small table. I told her everything. The declined card, the little girl, the words she gave me. I told her how that moment carried me forward, how it taught me to notice people, how it changed the way I lived. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she held my hands. Her grip was steady. "I remember that day," she said. "You looked like someone who needed a reminder." She looked out the window toward the river. "A long time ago," she said, "someone helped me when I was alone. They did not ask questions. They stayed. I promised myself I would do the same when I could." She looked back at me. "I never thought I would see you again." I smiled. I never stopped hoping I would. The light shifted in the room. The river moved quietly outside. And in that calm space, I realized something. The journey I thought was about gratitude was really about connection. And this was only the beginning. After that day, I thought our story might end with coffee and a goodbye. But it did not. It grew. I started visiting her every few weeks. Sometimes I rode out just to sit on the porch. We talked about small things: weather, roads, good meals, quiet mornings. She told me stories about the river, how it changed with the seasons, how it taught patience. I told her about my work, about learning to show up on time, about staying when things felt hard. She listened the same way she had at the gas station, fully present. One afternoon, she asked me a question I did not expect. "Do you have family?" I hesitated. "Not really," I said. She nodded slowly. "Neither do I, in the way people usually mean it." We shared a quiet smile. From then on, the visits felt different. Less like gratitude, more like belonging. I helped fix a loose step on her porch. She taught me how to read the river before launching a kayak. Sometimes we did not talk much at all. We just watched the water move. One day, she said something that stayed with me. "People think kindness is loud, but it is usually quiet. It waits. It listens. It shows up again." As my life grew steadier, I introduced her to friends, people from work, writers I trusted. They treated her with respect. She welcomed them with coffee and simple meals. The cabin filled with laughter. Not every visit was perfect. Sometimes we misunderstood each other. Sometimes I showed up tired and distant. Sometimes she reminded me to slow down. We talked through it. We did not rush past feelings. We let them settle. That was new for me. Learning that connection did not break when things felt awkward. It grew stronger. One evening, as the sun dipped low, she looked at me and said, "Do you know why I gave you that money?" I shook my head. I thought it was obvious. She smiled gently. "I saw someone standing still when they needed to move. I knew that feeling. I did not want you stuck there longer than you had to be." I looked at my hands. "You changed my direction," I said. She shook her head. "No, you did that. I just opened a door." That night, riding home, the road felt different again. Not like escape, like return. I realized the promise I made at the gas station had grown. Passing it on was not only about money. It was about time, tension, presence, listening when someone spoke, stopping when someone looked lost. The next week, I helped a coworker move. The week after that, I checked on a neighbor. Small things, quiet things. The chain continued. Months passed. Seasons shifted. The river rose and fell. And one afternoon, as we sat side by side on the porch, she said, helping you helped me too. I looked at her. How? She folded her hands in her lap. It reminded me that what we give does not disappear. Comes back in new shapes, new faces, new days. I nodded, understanding more than I could explain. I came looking to close a chapter. Instead, I found a new one. And I knew, without question, that whatever roads waited ahead, I would not walk them the same way again. Time has a way of testing what matters. Not with loud moments, with quiet changes. One visit, she moved a little slower. Another visit, she rested more between walks. She never complained. She never asked for anything. But I noticed, and noticing had become part of who I was. I started coming more often, not because she needed help, because presence mattered. We cooked simple meals. We watched the river. We talked about choices, about how life does not ask permission before it shifts. One afternoon, she looked at me and said, "You have grown." I smiled. "So have you," I replied. She laughed softly. "At my age, growth looks different. But it still happens." She told me she was proud of the life I had built. The steadiness, the way I showed up, not just for her, for others. That word stayed with me. Showed up. I realized that was the real gift she gave me. Not the money, not the moment, the example. She showed me how to stand beside someone without fixing them, how to help without keeping score, how to give without disappearing afterward. I shared that lesson with others, friends, co-workers, writers who crossed my path. Some listened, some learned slowly, but the circle kept growing. One weekend, a group of friends joined us at the cabin. We shared food, stories, quiet laughter. She sat in her chair, watching everyone with calm joy. Later, when the others had left, she said, "This is what I hoped for." I asked her what she meant. She looked toward the river. "I hoped that helping one person would lead to many more moments like this. Connection, care, people choosing each other." I felt something settle deep inside me. A sense of responsibility. Not heavy, honoring. From then on, I made a promise. Not spoken, lived. I would keep space open in my life. For people. For pauses. For moments that asked for kindness instead of speed. The road still called to me. I still rode. But I did not ride away anymore. I rode back. Back to people. Back to meaning. Back to the version of myself that noticed when someone stood still. The woman who once helped me at a gas station did not change my life in one day. She changed the direction of my attention. And that changed everything. As the seasons turned again, I understood something simple and powerful. Kindness does not end when the moment passes. It stays. It grows. It becomes part of who you are. And once you learn to live that way, the road never feels empty again. The last lesson she gave me was quiet. So quiet I almost missed it. It was early morning. Mist floated above the river. We sat on the porch wrapped in light jackets. She held her coffee with both hands, watching the water. After a long silence, she spoke. She said, "People think legacy is something big. Buildings, names, stories told out loud." She paused. "But most of the time, legacy is invisible. It lives in how people treat each other after you are gone." I listened, not interrupting. She continued, "I helped you because I could. You helped others because you chose to. That is how it works. Nothing dramatic. Just a steady line of good choices." She looked at me. "Promise me something." I nodded. "Promise you will keep noticing people. Especially when they are quiet. Especially when they think no one sees them." I felt my throat tighten. "I promise," I said. She smiled. "That is enough." After that day, life moved forward. As it always does. I kept visiting. We kept talking. Some days were full. Some days were slow. But every day mattered. Then one afternoon, as I stood to leave, she said, "If I am not here one day, do not be sad. Be useful. Help someone. Sit with them. Listen." That is how you honor me. I nodded again, carrying those words carefully. The next time I stopped at a gas station, I saw a man standing by a pump. He stared at the screen longer than he should have. His shoulders were tight, his eyes distant. I remembered myself. I walked over slowly, did not rush, did not assume, just stood beside him, long enough to be seen. You okay? I asked. He looked surprised, then relieved. Yeah, he said, just a little stuck. I smiled. I know that feeling. And in that moment I understood the full circle. Not the money, not the bike, not the road. The choice to pause, the choice to care, the choice to pass it on. Years ago, someone paid for my gas, but what she really gave me was direction, a way to live, a way to show up. So if you ever find yourself with the chance to help, even in a small way, take it. You may never see where it leads, but someone else will, and that is more than enough.